I come from CNCA. It's the wrong name of our agency. My name is Huang, and it's my first time to come here. So my presentation, first I will have a brief introduction to you about CNCA. And second, I will introduce the traditional and non-traditional food safety problems. And we'll also introduce some legislation and the CNCA, also the CIQ's works in this field. Finally, I will give you some figures on the application of the HACCP Food Defense Plan situation in China. CNCA authorized by the State Council and exercise as administrative responsibility by undertaking unified management, supervision, and overall coordination of the certification and accreditation activity across the country. Registration Department of the CNCA be in charge of the registration of food establishment for import and export, and the supervision on the third-party certification on food and produce. Okay. The traditional food safety problems are caused by the pesticide and veterinary drug residues, heavy metal and bacterial contamination, etc., which are commonly introduced naturally in the processing and process of food and can be prevented and controlled by the reasonable applying of the GMP and HACCP. The intentional contamination, or we call it food adulteration, we think this is a new challenge. This new challenge are not non-traditional food safety problem. As to the non-traditional food safety problem, when we focus on the hazard species, characteristic, and the range and the reasons, there are big difference for the traditional food safety issues. There are 4 figures of the non-traditional food safety problem. The one is the under-table rules in the food processing and processing, intended some people intended to get illegal profit. The second, deliberate tampering on food caused by the wrongful competition. Third, the employees complain on social injustice and the labor relationships. Finally is the terrorism caused by the terrorism. When we're talking about food adulteration, there are 2 kinds of adulteration in our opinion. One is the ideologically motivated adulteration. The second is economically motivated adulteration. These 2 kinds of adulteration need different mitigation strategies. Maybe now it's the time that for us to look on the typical theory structures related to food safety. The FDA and the USDA of the United States introduced the Food Defense Plan and the BT registration to cope with these problems. 3 strategies, which was figured out based on my country, China, experience, are recommended to face the challenge in China. The one is the food facility add the food defense patch on their own system. The local government manage the chemical input in a reasonable manner to establish a non-traditional hazard identification and communication mechanism between the relative partners. To our opinion, and the actual application experience of the food facilities in China, we think that Food Defense Plan and HACCP could be integrated from the implementation view. Legislation of China, I will give you some situation to you. The food safety law and the ordinance on the dairy products encourage the food facility to establish the HACCP system. The Export Food Processing Facility Registration Regulation is a regulation published by the AQSIQ in 2011, require all the exporting food facility must apply the HACCP system. According to the bulletins of the CNCA, that bulletin also will, in 2011, the safety and hygiene requirement of export food process facilities shall assess the risk of intentional contamination on food and implement preventive measure. That we call it the Food Defense Plan's requirement. In February this year, the China State Council published the National Food Safety Plans of the 13 5 years, 2016 to 2020. In this plan, it will require to improve the implementation of the GMP, HACCP, and Food Defense Plan in the food producing and processing facilities. Encourage third-party certification and application of certification marks on the products. In 2004, CNCA had cooperated with FDA, introduced a BT registration requirement to the exporting factories of China. From 2004, we do a lot of work on HACCP and Food Defense Plan. And in 2008, there are about 120 facilities established Food Defense Plan the first time. These facilities supply the Beijing Olympic Games. In 2010, there were about 79 facilities which established the Food Defense Plan, supplied the Shanghai export. In 2014, CNCA and FDA established a Food Defense Working Group, and we exchanged the legislation information, doing relative research together, and doing the capacity building on government officer and industry in industry. Up to 2017, about 6,000 valid HACCP certificate will publish by the certification body to the factory. It's about 6,000 facilities got the third-party HACCP certification. And about 13,000 food facility get the registration to export. And all the export facility up to now, they will all have the HACCP and Food Defense Plan. Oh, yes. According to the Food Defense Plan's national standard, we published a national standard in 2010. When the food facility doing the food defense assessment, that should include the IMA and EMA. The facility could got relative information from the supervision bulletin published by the government agency, or they get information from industry themselves, or they get information from the system of the network monitoring, or also the survey of the food chain data. As to the mitigation strategy on EMA, the facility can have this optional control, can have the four aspects of control measure. One is telling the concern to their supplier. The second is doing the testing. The third is technological support from outside. Finally, they can check. It's very important to transfer the information to the government agency and to his partner. The President Xi Jinping of China, on the fields of the food safety, they require the four most strict standard, most strict supervision, most strict punishment, and most strict accountability. This is the promise of the Chinese government to her people, and also the promise to our international partner. Everyone in this hall, we will wish to provide better food for more people. And but I also, as personally, I also have a small wish that my native language is English. Thank you for your patience and attention. Thank you, Chair.